how are you? We're in lockdown, and if you're watching this all the way in the future, once lockdown has finished, then good for you. But as of right now, I am filming at home in my pajamas, but I'm so excited to be delivering to you The Crucible and The Dressmaker. I know that this is a new text pair and that there aren't that many resources available for it, but LSG has got your back, so you know that you've got some quality content coming towards your way. I will be making sure that we publish videos for you based on themes, which is what we're covering today, but also an essay topic breakdown, character comparison, so those will come sometime in the future, but I'll tell you more about sort of what content is going on with The Crucible and The Dressmaker as we go throughout this video. So let's talk about themes. Now, as I start diving into some of these themes, we're going to be looking at convergent and divergent themes. And if you're not familiar with the convergent divergent strategy that I've come up with here at LSG, then make sure you get familiar with it, because it's something that will really help you to look at your texts from a unique angle, and it'll sort of move you out of that comparative rut where it's just the typical way of comparing, and really sort of open you up to more possibilities on how you can compare. And with more possibilities comes a better essay discussion, and with a better essay discussion comes better marks. So get your hands on how to write a killer comparative and get familiar with that strategy there. Then you'll find that you're going to be able to have a greater appreciation of what we're doing in this video. So let's get into it. Let's start off with convergent themes. Both The Crucible and The Dressmaker talk extensively about class. By class, what I mean is the economic and social divisions which determine where people sit in society. For instance, we could say that the British royals are upper class, while people living paycheck to paycheck and struggling to get by are lower class. Ultimately, both The Crucible and The Dressmaker are set in classist societies where there is no opportunity for social advancement. Whilst Thomas Putnam steals the land of poor Salamites accused of witchcraft, the McSweeneys are left to live in absolute poverty and never leave the tip where they have lived for generations. Dungata and Salem view this social division as a given and reject the idea that there is anything wrong with certain people living a life of suffering so others can have lives of wealth and pleasure. As such, for both Salem and Dungata, the very idea that anyone could move between the classes and make a better life for themselves is inherently dangerous. What we can see here is that class shapes the way communities deal with crisis. Anything that overturns class is dangerous because it challenges the social order, meaning that individuals such as Reverend Paris for The Crucible or Councillor Pediman for The Dressmaker may lose all their power and authority. For The Crucible, it's precisely why the witchcraft crisis is so threatening, as the Salemites are prepared to replace Reverend Paris and deny his authority. Although Abigail and the group of girls thus single-handedly overturn Salem's class structures to replace it with their own tyranny, Paris's original intention was to use their power to reinforce his authority. In The Dressmaker, Tilly is threatening because she doesn't neatly fit into Dungata's class structure. Having travelled outside the world, she represents a worldly mindset and a breadth of experiences, which they know they cannot match. For this theme, there's a divergence of ideas too. And this is clear because the way that class is expressed and enforced in both texts is vastly different. For The Crucible, it's all about religion. Reverend Paris's assertion that all Christians must be loyal to him ensures the class structure remains intact. More than that, to challenge him would be to challenge God, which also guides Danforth in executing those who don't follow his will. In the case of The Dressmaker, there's no central authority who imposes class on Dungata. Rather, the people do it themselves, putting people back in their place through rumour and suspicion. However, by creating extravagant, expensive dresses for the townspeople, Tilly inadvertently provides people with another way to express class. Let's now move on to the theme of isolated communities, convergent. Looking at the convergent part of the strategy, the setting forms an essential thematic element of The Crucible and The Dressmaker. Both communities are thoroughly isolated and, in colloquial terms, live in the middle of nowhere. If we look at the divergent aspects of this theme, we can see that what's starkly different between the texts is how the isolation shapes the respective community's self-image. For Salem, its citizens adopt a mindset of religious and cultural superiority, believing that their faith, dedication to hard work, and unity under God makes them the most blessed people in the world. Individuals as diverse as Rebecca Nurse and Thomas Putnam perceive Salem to be a genuinely incredible place. They see Salem as the first battleground between God and the devil in the Americas, and as such, construct a grand narrative in which they are God's soldiers protecting his kingdom. Even the name Salem references Jerusalem, revealing that the Salemites see themselves as the second coming of Christ and the fulfillment of the Bible's promises. Not much of the same can be said for the dressmaker. Dungata lacks the same religious context, and the very name Dungata references dung or beetle poop. The next part of the name is tar, a sticky substance, creating the impression that Dungata's people are stuck in their disgusting ways. The townspeople of Dungata are acutely aware of their own inadequacy, and that is why they fight so hard to remain isolated from the outside world. Tilly is therefore a threat because she challenges their isolation and forces the men and women of Dungata to reconsider why their community has shunned progress for so long. In short, she makes a once isolated people realize that fear, paranoia, division, and superstition is no way to run a town, and brings them to acknowledge the terribly harmful impacts of their own hatred. On top of that, because Salem is literally the only Christian European settlement for miles, it is simply impossible for them to even think about alternatives to their way of life. They are completely isolated, and thus all of their problems come from within, and are as a result of their own division. For Dungata, it's a mix of societal issues on the inside being made worse by the arrival of the people from the outside. The township is isolated, but unlike Salem, it at least has contact with the outside world. All Tilly does, therefore, is to show the people of Dungata an alternative to their way of life. But for a community used to the way they've lived for decades, it ultimately contributes to its destruction. So far in this video, we've talked about isolated communities and social class, but in LSG's The Crucible and The Dressmaker study guide, we also dive deeper into fear, paranoia and suffering, and also order and stability and patriarchal gender norms as well. I'd highly recommend this study guide for you guys. I am so proud of what we've accomplished in it. I worked with Jordan, who is one of LSG's amazing tutors. He achieved a study score of 50 in English. He got the Premier's Award for English as well, so you know he's at the top of his game. He's at the top of the 50 study scorers who got the 50. So we worked really hard on making sure that what is in this study guide isn't just more stuff for you to read, but has actually got practical, meaningful advice for you that you can directly take into your essays. That's why we've also included 5 essays in there for you, all brainstormed and broken down, just like how I do it on this channel. But we then take that one step further and provide you a completed essay full of annotations so you know exactly what you need to do and what not to do as well. If you wanted to find out more, you can download a free sample of the study guide on my website to see if it's right for you. If you like these kind of videos, make sure you thumbs up so I know what I should be focusing on when I create content for this channel. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye!